Yo, 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 welcome back to yet another NFL, I guess, draft related video. This is my prediction. Well, some of my top candidates for rookie of the year, if you want to say. I really don't know. I kind of just made this video today out of nowhere. And I don't know. This is kind of going to be highlighting who I genuinely do think could win rookie of the year, a couple of the guys, but also kind of taking a look at the offenses of some because I'm only doing offensive rookie of the years. Defensive rookie of the year, I don't know how you really predict that. I mean, I guess there's a couple favorites and stuff, but I don't know. I'm only going to do offensive rookie of the years because I think it's a little easier and more fun to talk about. But let's get right into it, man. How y'all doing, man? I'm doing. It's been interesting couple days. I'm doing solid though. Uh, let's get it started off with. First of all, the rookie of the year is going to be Caleb Williams. I hope we're all in understanding of that fact. Caleb is going to win rookie of the year, and I don't even think it's going to be relatively close. I think Caleb is going to come in and immediately be possibly even better than what CJ Stroud did last year. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now. Um, and let's just take a look at it. So this is the roster offensively, right? Because that's all that matters. Wins and losses does not necessarily matter. At least we wouldn't think it would. But based off last season, for Stroud to win it over Puka, maybe you would say it kind of does matter. But I don't know, man. I really thought it should have been a co-rookie of the year between CJ and Puka, but CJ ended up winning it. So maybe it is just a quarterback favorite award. I'm not sure. But that kind of proves my case even more to where it doesn't matter what any of these other guys do. It's like if a quarterback is good enough to win it, they're gonna win it. So I don't know. We'll see. But so this is the roster Caleb's working with. Obviously, really improvements across the board if you're the Bears. I mean, the additions of Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DeAndre Swift to already, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, the offensive line, I think, is actually solid on paper. You would assume Darnell Wright after another year is going to be good. And if the rest of the offensive line can stay healthy, I think Ryan Bates at center from Buffalo is an upgrade. Braxton Jones, left tackle, both of their guards are good on paper. So you really would assume that their offensive line should be solid, at worst, good at best. And the receiving corps, arguably, this all depends on how good Rome looks and if Keenan Allen can stay healthy. But if their guys are relatively healthy and if Rome does good as a rookie, we're talking about possibly the best receiving corps in the NFL, which is insane to give that to a rookie. So we're talking about a good run game with Khalil Herbert, DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, a great receiving corps, not even including like guys like Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, and a good offensive line. I would make the argument that along with CJ Stroud last year, but even more so than CJ Stroud, this is the best offense possibly that a rookie quarterback has ever entered, at least that I can recall. Like, take a look at that, man. That's a great offense. Offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron. I know about him because he was my Seahawks former offensive coordinator. Basically, if we're just going on what he did in Seattle, we're talking about a lot of deep shots and a lot of short routes, not a lot of stuff over the middle of the field, which is kind of interesting because you got guys like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So you maybe assume you would do some of that stuff. But if we're talking about deep shots, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, you would think that kind of plays right into that wheelhouse. And maybe Keenan Allen, kind of as the safety valve of the offense. I like it, man. I think Caleb is honestly going to ball out as a rookie. And like, unless injury, the only way Caleb Williams does not win Offensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, is an injury causes him to miss 5 or more games, or he just straight up is a bust. Because honestly, the pressure's on Caleb. The Bears have done their job. They've given him the best weapons a rookie could ever ask for in the history of football. It's up to Caleb. If he's even solid, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. This would be the stat line. I'm going to do this for everybody. The projected stat line here, I would say, and the basis I used to compare him to was CJ Stroud. And these numbers right here, I would say, are basically better than CJ's as a rookie. I think certainly more turnovers. I do think Caleb is going to be a bit. I think Caleb's biggest weakness is going to be his play style and how prone he is to turnovers. I think that, but still, look at the total: 35 total touchdowns to 19 turnovers. That's not bad at all. So, especially for a rookie. So, I would say this is realistic. It would be really good for a rookie. And I think there'd be an argument, same as there was for CJ, that, Caleb is going to be a top 10 quarterback first year in the NFL. A lot of people are going to push back on that. And quite frankly, I think that the hate on Caleb is kind of corny at this point. To hate on a guy for his personality and stuff like that, talk about the player. And look, I understand, would I walk around with painted fingernails? Hell no. But he ain't he from California. That's kind of just how they get down. You know what I mean? A little sugar in their boots. But look, overall, I do think Caleb is going to win the award. I think he's going to ball out as a rookie. But I still think it's fair to shine the light on some of these other guys who I think possibly could end up winning the award. So even though I think it's a shoe in for Caleb, here's some other guys I think have a shot. Jayden Daniels, obviously going to the Commanders. Here's the offense he's working with. The receiving core I like. Obviously, Terry McLaurin, we know what he does. Jahan Dotson kind of had a disappointing sophomore year. His rookie year was very limited, but when he was on the field, he was making a lot of plays. You would assume year three that he would be like prime for a breakout year, if you want to say that. Luke McCaffrey as the slot, Dyami Brown as your wide receiver 4, I think is a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good wide receiving core. Zach Ertz in there, drafted Ben Sinnott. I like the tight end group. The running back room, I actually really like this running back room. Brian Robinson, I guess it would be your bell cow. If Austin Ekeler is healthy and he's out there, I think he's a very good option to have for a young quarterback who, you know, Austin Ekeler obviously going to be getting a lot of screen passes, a lot of short passes, a lot of, under 10-yard, dump off passes. I think it makes it easier. It simplifies things for Jayden Daniels and even Chris Rodriguez in case of injury, as a running back 3. I like that a lot. The biggest thing that concerns me is their offensive line. They've made some additions. Andrew Wiley, Tyler Biadasz, Nick Algoretti. Sam Cosmi was there already. Um, Honestly, I still don't love this offensive line. I would have liked to see them invest a little bit more into it in terms of, draft capital. But, this is what they're rocking with. We'll see how good it holds up. I honestly don't think it's going to hold up very well. I think he's going to have to run for his life a little bit. But with Cliff Kingsbury as the OC, we think of him, what he did with Kyler Murray. I just think Jayden Daniels is going to have a lot of. We talk about Heisman moments in college football. I think he's going to have a lot of Rookie of the Year moments in his first year. And I used Kyler Murray's rookie season as the kind of basis to compare his stats to, and I had him project him to miss 2 games compared to Caleb. If you were paying attention, I projected Caleb to play 16 games. I think Jayden Daniels will play about 15. I think that's more realistic. You would assume a guy with the worst offensive line has to run a little bit more. You would assume him to play less games, right? So I think the completion percentage will actually be higher for Jayden Daniels. Obviously, not as good of a natural passer as Caleb, not as talented of an arm, but I still think he'll do well. And obviously, Jayden Daniels was going to work into with him is the rushing ability, and I think they're going to highlight that as a rookie. So you look about a little bit over 4,400 total yards. I think he'll get to 30 touchdowns somehow. Maybe if it's a little less with the passing, more with the rushing. Turnovers, I don't think he's going to throw that many picks, but I do think fumbles are going to be a problem. Obviously, I think he's going to get sacked a lot, probably the most out of any rookie quarterback, if I had to guess. And I don't think they're going to be as good of a team, but I think they'll be solid, honestly. The Commanders, you think about the Cowboys not being that good and the Giants not being that good. I think the Commanders could easily win, 3 division games. And then all you got to do after that, if you go 3-3 in your division, then that's 11 other games. You got to go 4-7 in those. So I think they could get to 7 wins. So yeah, I think Jayden Daniels will probably be the second best rookie quarterback out of the 4 that we're projecting to start as rookies. So I think if I had to bet on another quarterback not named Caleb, it would probably be Jayden Daniels because I think he's going to have a lot of moments as a rookie, and his weapons in terms of receivers, running backs are also pretty solid. So I like Jayden Daniels' chances. Next up, we have Bo Nix here. And I think not a lot of people are really talking about how good Bo Nix could be as a rookie. I think he's very slept on right now. And the whole the whole situation in Denver, they are not on hardly anybody's radar. And I understand that. They are in a complete rebuild, in my opinion, right now. But I still think that Bo Nix, because of that, he's going to be sneaky good. Not a lot of people are going to pay attention to him or the Broncos in general. But I think because I really believe he is the perfect fit for Sean Payton's offense. He is the point guard. He is the decision maker, the safe bet. Not going to take many chances. Put the ball in the right place on time and with accuracy. I like Bo Nix in Denver, to be honest with you. And if you look at the weapons he has, obviously it's not comparable to Daniels or Caleb, right? The receiving core is not there yet. Courtland Sutton as your wide receiver 1 is probably not what you want to see. But I could honestly see a situation where if like Tim Patrick stays healthy, then they move on from Cortland Sutton by like the trade deadline and they just roll with the young guys. And by that I mean Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, and Greg Dulcich at tight end. Like I think they could be heavily just favoring the young players like halfway through the season. So the receiving core I don't love, but I do like Javonte Williams, Audric Estime in the backfield. Jaleel McLaughlin had some moments as well last season. The offensive line also I think is pretty solid. Like Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey is probably the best tackle duo of any rookie quarterback. And the interior is not bad either. Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, like they lost Cushenberry in free agency, but I don't think it's a bad offensive line. So I think the biggest things here are like how good are Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims going to look? Can Tim Patrick stay healthy? The offense is not that good, but I do think Bo Nix is still going to have a pretty underrated rookie season. I used Russell Wilson as the comparison here, and this may be a little bit of a over exaggeration of what his stats could be, but I think the completion percentage is definitely going to be way up there. Um, Maybe not 25 passing touchdowns. That might have been a little bit high, but I do think he's going to be able to use his legs in a positive way. I think Russ actually last season was kind of running into trouble last season where I think Bo Nix could use his legs in a positive way for the Broncos next season. So I think 32 touchdowns, 32, it might be a little much to be honest. I think 29 to 30 might be more realistic. A high completion percentage though, not that many turnovers. And, obviously not a great team, not a great record, I don't think. But I think if you pay attention closely to Bo Nix next year in Denver and in the Sean Payton offense, I think because I said I put my neck out there that he's NFL ready, and I still believe that. I do believe that the weapons aren't there yet. You got a very young offense with not a lot of veteran talent, but I think he could still look good as a rookie, and that's what I'm kind of banking on here. Moving on to Brock Bowers. Of any tight end here, I think he definitely. I mean, come on, he has the most obvious chance here. Looking at the rest of the offense, I definitely think Gardner Minshew is going to be the quarterback. For some reason, Raiders fans actually think like this is just O'Connell's team. I have no idea why. Gardner was straight up just a good quarterback last season, and I mean, this is an upgrade. This is an upgraded offensive roster for Minshew compared to Indianapolis last season. So I don't know why you would assume Aiden O'Connell would be the starter next year. I'm assuming it's going to be Minshew, and so this is I got all this depth chart information from our lads website. So yeah, they agree with me. Minshew's the starter. Looking at the offense, it's going to be a change, right? Because they have been so heavy on Josh Jacobs the last 2 or 3 years, and now you got Zamir White and a bunch of other guys. I would assume Zamir White would still be your, quote unquote bell cow, but definitely not as many touches as Josh Jacobs. So I would hope that it would be a much more pass happy offense because you got to upgrade at quarterback, a downgrade at running back, and a brand new weapon here in Brock Bowers for the receiving core. So you look at Devontae, Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker actually had a solid season last year. They did sign Michael Gallup. And I mean, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, you should have a really good receiving core for the Raiders here. Offensive line, I mean, it's not too bad, especially with the addition of Jackson Powers Johnson. Right tackle, probably you're not in love with, but I think Brock Bowers. The question is, how how do I put this? How generous is Gardner Minshew with the ball, right? Because if I was Gardner Minshew, I would be trying to come in here and just feed Davante Adams and try and because if you're Gardner Minshew, right, you're playing for a potential like this is kind of his big chance, right? This is probably the best offensive roster he's ever had. And if he plays really well next season and he gets the Raiders to like 9 or 10 wins and they might even make the playoffs, like he's probably the quarterback, right? Like, he's gonna get like a Baker Mayfield type contract from the Raiders, I'd assume. So this is his big chance. So if that's your big chance, how much confidence would you have in a rookie Brock Bowers? That's the question for me. Because if I'm Minshew, I'm just feeding Davante Adams all season long. So let's see. Based off that, this would be what I think Brock Bowers' stat line would look like. And understand the carries might be a little shocking to some people, but he ran the ball a lot at Georgia. Like he got a lot of explosive plays on the ground in Georgia. And maybe you would say that's not really realistic in the NFL, but think about it. Their running back room isn't great either. and I think he was actually teammates with Zamir White, if I'm not mistaken. But besides that, like I would assume that the Raiders would get a little creative with the running game, right? When that's your running back room, possibly the worst in the whole league. I would assume Brock Bowers, you'd at least give him a couple chances out of the backfield. So I definitely think, 70 plus touches is in the cards for Brock Bowers. And if that's the case, well over 800 yards for me, because he is a deep threat as a tight end. He is an explosive playmaker. And 9 touchdowns, you know, for a receiver slash tight end to win rookie of the year, we'll probably need to see well over 1,000 yards, well over 10 touchdowns. I'm not sure if he could do that in terms of the yards, possibly double digit touchdowns, I think. But with Devontae Adams on the roster getting the majority, like he might get 30+% of the targets on the team, honestly. So that does not leave a lot of room left for guys like Brock Bowers. But I think he still could be a big time impact player year one. The question for me is, could he be better than a guy like Sam Laporta? Because Sam Laporta like broke all the tight end rookie receiving records last season, and he wasn't even in the conversation. Like that's the crazy part, right? So if you could be a record breaking rookie as a tight end and not even be in the conversation, even Kyle Pitts, right? Wasn't Kyle Pitts like a monster as a rookie? And he also, from what I remember, was not really in the conversation like that. So I don't know, man. Brock Bowers would have to do a lot, but I think he could. But I honestly don't think he's going to be in that final running for rookie of the year. Moving on, though, we got a tandem here: Xavier Legette and Ja'Tavion Sanders. Um, I decided to put him both in here because I really like this duo. Honestly, I thought Ja'Tavion Sanders would have been a good pick for the Panthers in the second round. They got him in the top of the fourth round, so that's an amazing selection by them. And if you take a look at the new look offense, it should be solid. Honestly, like it should not be that bad. The pressure really is on Bryce because they improved the offensive line. That was a big concern. They improved the receiving core mightily. That was their biggest concern. It went from Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo, and like DJ Chark, Terrence Marshall to Adam Thielen as your wide receiver three, Xavier Legette, Dante Johnson, and also Ja'Tavion Sanders. I think he's going to win the starting job over Tommy Tremble, by the way. So it's a massive upgrade. Jonathan Brooks as well. I forgot to speak on this earlier. I do not think a single running back is even in the conversation. It's so crazy to think about, but there could be a possibility where by the end of the season, not a single one of these rookie running backs has over 200 touches, which is insane. Unless like an injury takes place. Thinking about that now, there probably is going to be some starting running back out there that gets hurt, so a rookie is going to be able to get that opportunity. But at least on paper, I don't see any of these rookie running backs year one being like the premier guy for any team, which is crazy. Jonathan Brooks could be that guy, but he's coming off a major injury. I think Chuba Hubbard actually could potentially have a breakout year. So I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to be that guy. But hey, if he's healthy and if he's solid, that's a solid running back room actually. So, like I said, the pressure is on Bryce Young next season. But if he plays even solid, we could be talking about big years from Legette and Sanders out the gate. So here's the projected stat lines. Keep in mind, this depends on Bryce just being good. Like I'm talking over 1,000 yard improvement from Bryce Young. That's a massive jump, but he was so bad last season, he could do it easily, right? Like he could take a massive jump and still not even be that great, which is crazy. But Legette, I definitely think is the bigger possibility for rookie of the year because I think he's just gonna be more of a big play type of guy, downfield explosive plays. Um, so I think his potential is a little higher. Sanders, though, if he builds up a rapport with Bryce Young, I think he could definitely have the second best season of any tight end. I think he is the second best tight end in the class. So I like the Panthers draft, what they did. I like their whole offseason because on paper, look at this right here. They did their job. It was a year late, they should have waited for the quarterback, but they did their job. They improved the offense, and now the pressure's on Bryce to perform. So both these guys, I think, are going to have solid rookie seasons. Next up, this is the guy. This is the guy who has the best chance to win rookie of the year of any non-quarterback. Marvin Harrison, and here's what he's working with, okay? We got Michael Wilson as the other receiver, Greg Dortch as well as another option. Trey McBride is honestly the other guy. Like he is a very underrated tight end. He had a breakout season last year, and he looked really good. So he could take even another step forward if that's even possible. So keep an eye on Trey McBride. Offensive line, look, they have their tackles. Jonah Williams from Cincinnati and Paris Johnson from last season. The interior is questionable. The interior leaves a lot to be desired, so the run game might not be there. But if it is, James Conner, Trey Vincent is a pretty solid duo, to be honest with you. Like, it's a pretty good duo. So it's up to Kyler to stay healthy, first of all. And how much does he just favor Marv? I mean, Marv's the best. Let's not get this mistaken. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player on this team besides Kyler, like, and maybe Buda Baker. So that there's no question about that. So how much of an impact does he make right away? Well, if it's me, he's getting at least 8 to 9 targets a game. He's getting treated like I'd treat if I had an all pro caliber receiver. I don't care if he's a rookie or not. He's ready, in my opinion. So do the Cardinals just put that much faith in him right away? I think they do. I think they do. And if that's the case, here's a reasonable stat line I could see. Well over 1,000 receiving yards, well over 80 plus catches. I think he could get 100 touches as a rookie receiver. 100 touches. There are some Pro Bowlers that don't get 100 touches because I also think because Ohio State was not afraid to use him on jet sweeps and stuff like that out of the backfield. I also think we should look to see that in Arizona. You know, he's such a talented athlete. Just get him the ball in any way you can. So if that's the case, we could possibly be pushing 11 to 1,200 yards from scrimmage with well over 10 touchdowns. I think Marv is NFL ready. You know, I think he could be a Pro Bowler year one. He's the only guy I could say that for, besides maybe, Brock Bowers. So, yeah, I think Marv is going to dominate, honestly, as a rookie. The question is really, how early do the Cardinals just accept that and just feed him like you would if you had a Davante Adams or a Stephon Diggs or a Tyreek or guys like that? So that's the only question in my mind, honestly. Just feed the man. Next up, we got Rome Odunze. Already talked about the offense when we talked about Caleb, so that's not the issue here. The issue is really, I don't think he's going to get enough opportunity if everybody else stays healthy. So I'm not wishing this or hoping this happens, but the way this happens, and this has to happen, is if a guy like Keenan Allen or DJ Moore got hurt, it's probably going to be more likely it would be Keenan Allen, right? So let's say a guy goes down and Rome and Caleb are just they make this connection, right? The rookie training camp and the preseason stuff like that, and they just click right away. If that's the case, like remember what I said earlier, Shane Waldron, offensive coordinator, the Bears are going to take a lot of deep shots. And who's the best deep threat on this team? Well, I'm telling you right now, it's Rome Odunze. With his size and speed combination, his body control in the air, he's going to come down with a lot of Caleb Williams deep balls year one. So if we're saying that that's a reality, this is a stat line I could see for Rome Odunze. 15 yards per reception easily. Well, not easily here, but around 15 yards per catch, a lot of deep touchdowns, which could boost his receiving yards number close to 1,000. Remember, this would have to be Keenan Allen misses 4 or 5 games, maybe DJ Moore misses 2 or 3 games, and around 8 to 9 touchdowns. I could see that. And if that's the case, we're talking about probably the second best receiving or the second best rookie receiver, which I think makes sense. So Rome, I think, could be in the running, but it would probably take some help from injuries to other guys. And also, I'm not going to have Malik Nabers on this list because I don't think he's going to. I just don't think the team's good enough, quite frankly. Daniel Jones is the quarterback, bad offensive line, not a lot of help in terms of other receiving options. So, yeah, I don't think Malik Nabers is going to be in the running for Rookie of the Year. Next, we got Brian Thomas. This is kind of interesting because I could see a world where Brian Thomas honestly just like slips right into Calvin Ridley's role, but might even do it better. Think about that. Calvin Ridley got a lot of fucking targets last season and barely cracked 1,000 yards. Like, I think Brian Thomas, if he got 85, 90% of Calvin Ridley's targets, he might be able to put up an even better stat line. And that's kind of interesting to think about. So obviously we know the Jaguars offense was disappointing last season on paper. It should be much better, honestly. Because Trevor Lawrence, apparently, from what people are saying, he was playing through injury. That's why he looked so bad. The receiving core, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas, it's a good receiving core. I don't know why Jaguars fans are so just adamant that they need better receivers. You need a better quarterback play. That's what you need. The Jaguars fans are assuming that it was the receivers' problems. It was Trevor Lawrence's fault. Offensive line should be good enough. They got Mitch Morse from Buffalo. Brandon Sheriff, was he already there? Or was he? I don't know. But it's a good offensive line on paper. Good receiving core on paper. If Trevor goes back to 2022 Trevor, we could be talking about a monster season from Brian Thomas. This is the stat line I could see for him. And it's basically what Calvin Ridley did last season. I don't think as many touchdowns, but over 1,000 yards, a lot of yards after catch, definitely, and a lot of bombs. I could see that for Brian Thomas. And when you think about the Jaguars, what's holding him back from instantly being their wide receiver one? The question for me would be, would he win that battle with Gabe Davis? I think him and Gabe Davis are both amazing deep threats, but I think Brian Thomas, due to his size and his explosiveness, might get the edge. Trevor might just favor him more, and if that's the case, we're talking over 1,000 yards from Brian Thomas. I could see it. I could definitely see it, and I could even see a world where, like, let's just say for instance, Marv misses 2 or 3 games. Brian Thomas could lead all rookies in receiving yards. That's possible. That's very possible. So I like his chances. Honestly, I do like his chances as a rookie. Next, we got Xavier Worthy. Honestly, let me paint this picture for you, right? Rashee Rice straight up just gets suspended. Like, I'm talking 12 plus games. Honestly, this is a separate issue, I would say. But if I'm the commissioner, I'm suspending Rashee Rice the entire year. Because not only did he get into the bullshit incident with him crashing his car. I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant here. There is absolutely no excuse for any wide receiver in the NFL to be doing this dumb shit with their cars after Henry Ruggs. Like, there should have been a zero tolerance policy after Henry Ruggs. So you had Henry Ruggs, then you had Jordan Addison speeding, doing like 120 plus miles an hour, I think. That got a slap on the wrist. Jalen Carter, I'm not going to say he killed somebody, but he played a part in his teammate's death and somebody else. So we've had multiple car-related deaths with NFL players in the last like 2-3 years. And still we got Xavier Worthy. Or sorry, I'm not Xavier Worthy, sorry. Rashee Rice being a fucking idiot. Luckily didn't kill anybody. Probably was driving under the influence. That's why he ran. Had guns and weed in the car, apparently. That in his own thing, I would have suspended him a whole season just for that, because I have no tolerance for dumbass shit like that. Then apparently the other day he fucking punched a photographer in a nightclub. Why are you even at a nightclub after doing that dumbass shit? You should just keep your head down and work the rest of the offseason. He was at a nightclub and punched a photographer or some shit like that. So that's 2 incidents within like a month or two of each other. Like, he should be gone the whole season. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if the Chiefs just cut his ass, because that's unacceptable. So if I'm the commissioner, I'm suspending Rashee Rice for the entire year. But let's assume, like every other NFL guy, they're generous, unless you're gambling, of course. They're generous. They only get like 10 to 12 games. If that's the case, I'm probably looking at Xavier Worthy as the number one receiver on this team. And I understand Hollywood Brown. I don't think he's going to be like a consistent play to play. I think they're going to look to Hollywood Brown, honestly, as more of just a deep threat. Not, he's going to be a very valuable deep threat. I think, 950 yards, 1,000 yards maybe could be in his cards. But even him, like, think Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce, both very injury prone, by the way. I think there is going to be a lot of games next season where Xavier Worthy leads the team in targets. Like, I think 4 to 5 games at least, he could definitely lead the team in targets. If that's the case, man, we could be looking at the front runner for a non-quarterback rookie of the year. So I painted the picture for you right there. Here's the potential stat line I could see. I could see 100 touches easy for Xavier Worthy as a rookie, if he stays healthy, of course, because they're going to use him. They're going to use him on the Tyreek Hill, the option routes, out of the backfield, the jet sweeps, the trickery in the red zone. I think he's going to get multiple rushing touchdowns just in the red zone, with some trick plays. Definitely over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, not even close, probably close to 1,100 to 1,200 yards from scrimmage. And the question, honestly, is just how many bombs can he catch? How many? Because he's had some drop issues from what I've seen so far in training camp. But, I mean, if he builds that rapport, man, with Mahomes, I think he's going to be a monster as a rookie, year one. We already saw with Rashee Rice. We know they have no problem of just going to a rookie. So if that's the case, Xavier Worthy monster season. Yo. My bad. You knew the mic was going to die at some point. Where was I? Okay, moving on to the next person here. Keon Coleman. This is interesting because if we're looking at just in terms of competition, I think Dalton Kincaid is the biggest, obstacle for Keon Coleman in terms of receiving options. I think Khalil Shakir definitely um got some rapport built, some chemistry built up with Josh Allen towards the end of last season, but he's a slot guy. So I think in terms of boundary receivers, like outside receivers, I think Keon Coleman's going to be that guy from day one. Like Curtis Samuel, he's injured. He's not even. I wouldn't even consider him like a boundary guy. So he's really their best option. I think guys like Justin Shorter, Mac Hollins, Chase Claypool are their only other options in terms of outside guys. I mean, look how many guys they have down here: Quintez Cephas, KJ Hamler, Andy Isabella, Chase Claypool. Like they have so many guys just on this roster. I don't think any of them are as good as Keon Coleman on the outside. So I think he's gonna take that job like early. Like I think they're just gonna commit to him. And when they do that, I think magic's gonna happen because he is a contested catch winner. He has explosive athleticism. He didn't run that fast at the combine, but it's different on the field. Like you can tell he's a different caliber athlete. At least he was at the college level. So in the NFL, I just think Josh Allen's gonna fall in love with him. Like it's kind of a match made in heaven. Like he was projected to the Bills so often, it actually happened at pick number 33, that I feel like it's going to be day one success. So with that in mind, I do think he's going to lead all rookies in touchdowns because I think in the red zone, especially, they're just going to go to Keon Coleman. Like if it's a passing scenario in the touchdown, Keon Coleman's probably going to get the ball, right? Like I think everybody understands that. So I think it's going to be similar to Rome Odunze, where it's going to be well over 14 yards per catch. Like he's going to be a deep, deep threat. And yeah, I just think he's going to be dominant. I think the best, I think the Bills, method of winning from this point on is honestly running the football. I mean, James Cook, Ray Davis, guys like that, just pound the rock, man. We saw it work. Obviously, we know Josh Allen's going to use his legs a lot. So I don't think they're going to be as much of a passing team as they've been in recent years. But if they are, Keon Coleman, he stands to benefit a lot from that as their potential, just straight up number one receiver. Next, we got Ladd McConkey. This is interesting because I do think he's just going to be a day one starting slot receiver, but he's not the typical slot receiver because he has explosive athleticism and he makes a lot of deep plays. So I think that like the Chargers are going to use him and he's going to be a big play threat. And this also kind of depends on, I think, first of all, I think the Chargers are going to be very, very run heavy next season. Like their offensive line's solid. Like you would expect it to be very good, but the receiving core, you would expect them to just lean more into the free. Like they have three new running backs. I think they're just going to lean into pounding the rock more. So I don't think they're going to be as aggressive throwing the football as they have been, obviously with all these new receivers and stuff. But Ladd McConkey in the slot, him and Quentin Johnston, I like him to be honest. I really want Quentin Johnson to be well or to do well, but if he doesn't, then Ladd McConkey, I think, is going to be that guy who is Herbert's favorite target. Like Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst, like no disrespect, I like Will Dissly as a Seahawks fan, but I don't think he's going to be taking too many targets away from Ladd McConkey. So I think Ladd McConkey is definitely going to lead the team in catches as a rookie. That's no question in my opinion. But can he get enough explosive plays? I think he will. And I also think Harbaugh is going to saw what Georgia did with him and Brock Bowers and give him some touches out of the backfield because when Georgia did it, it just worked. Like it was incredibly successful. So I think we're going to see that with McConkey. And if that's the case, I think 1,000 yards from scrimmage is easily attainable. So I think Ladd McConkey stands to be potentially the Chargers' number one receiver. Like I don't think many people will say that at the start of the season, But I think, halfway through by the end of the season, we're going to look back and say, damn, Ladd McConkey had a really good rookie year. So I expect that to be the case. Honestly, I think Ladd McConkey is a real dark horse for rookie of the year, but I definitely think 1,000 yards is easily attainable for him. Next, we got Malachi Corley here. I think it was a great pick by the Jets to get him at the top of the third round. And so obviously, right, he projects to be instantly slot him in as their number one slot receiver. Um, and the real path to success for Malachi Corley, I think, would be if Mike Williams gets hurt. Because if he gets hurt, then you're probably saying to yourself, well, Malachi Corley is going to get a lot more touches than he otherwise would have gotten. If Mike Williams is healthy and Garrett Wilson's healthy, and Breece Hall's and they run the ball a lot, then probably not too many touches for Malachi Corley. But if other guys go down, I could definitely see Malachi Corley game by game getting more and more opportunities, more and more touches, and just having a couple monster games towards the middle and the end of the next season. So let's say, theoretically, right? Everybody stays healthy. Malachi Corley does not get as many opportunities. I'd say closer to 55, 60 catches, maybe 650 yards, right? But if guys get hurt and he quickly builds that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, I'd say 70, 75 catches, 800, 850 yards, 8, 9 touchdowns. That's definitely possible. So I kind of went in the middle here and played it a little bit safe. Maybe not 7 touchdowns. I don't know, because he's a guy where if you get the ball in his hands, he's not going down without a fight. So I think he could definitely take a couple shorter yardage routes and make them into explosive plays. So I don't know. Malachi Corley, it's kind of a long shot, to be honest with you, for rookie of the year. I just wanted to highlight where I think he's going to be a big impact player as a rookie, and especially as a third round pick. You might not expect that, but he could definitely have bigger seasons. I think Malachi Corley could have more yards and touchdowns than Malik Nabers as a rookie. So take that into account. That would be kind of crazy, but I think it's possible. It's all about situation and the guys you have around you, right? So I think obviously Malik Nabers is a much better player, but Malachi Corley went into a better fit, a better situation, and he could benefit a lot from that. Next, we got Troy Franklin. This is very interesting. This is kind of all riding. First of all, he fell ridiculously far. 17th, think about that, 17th wide receiver selected. I thought at worst he was going to be 7th or 8th. So he fell massively. I think it's because of his size and his frame. He's tall, but he's not that big. He's kind of skinny, I guess. So people were afraid of that, like him getting jammed, press coverage, him not doing too well. But look, he's with this college quarterback. He's with a guy who knew how to get him the ball, where to get him the ball. He knows his timing, his rhythm, all of that. So that's the most important thing here. But also, look at the competition above him, man. You're telling me I got to beat out Josh Reynolds and Courtland Sutton? That's nothing. I do not expect Troy Franklin to be their wide receiver 4 by the middle of the season. I would give it 3 games before he's Bo Nix's favorite target again. Because even Marvin Mims is not, he had a couple moments as a rookie, but he's, Troy Franklin's biggest competition in my eyes. I do not think Courtland Sutton's going to finish the season with the Broncos. So I think by game 7, game 8, Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, their connection will be there. It'll be in full effect. And, they're just going to ride it out till the end of the year. And with that being said, the stats are going to show that the first couple games, Troy Franklin's not going to have as many opportunities, but by the end of the season, I definitely think he's going to turn it up. And if something else unforeseen would happen, like an injury or a trade or something like that, we could see the stats be even better than this. But I do think Troy Franklin and Bo Nix are going to work in the NFL. I love the storyline of them sticking together, and I'm looking forward to that. Broncos football, not that many eyes will be on them, but I will be interested to watch and see how this duo progresses through their rookie season. And lastly, we're going to look at Devontae Walker here for Baltimore. It's a similar situation to Troy Franklin. The guy fell a lot. Maybe not, in Troy Franklin's case, Devontae Walker wasn't projected to go that high, but I had a mid to late second round grade on him. He fell to the 4th round. So here's the thing for Devontae Walker, honestly. All he has to do is beat out Nelson Agholor and Rashad Bateman. That's not a hard thing to do. Some Ravens fans swear Rashad Bateman's good. He just can't stay healthy. When he is healthy, he doesn't do much. So I don't believe that. I think Devontae Walker is going to be better than Nelson Agholor without a shadow of a doubt. And they really just used Agholor as a deep threat. So I think Devontae Walker could step in and take his spot, no problem. And I think depending on how the season goes, he could be a more favorite target of Lamar than Rashad Bateman. So, I think Devontae Walker and Zay Flowers are going to be the two top guys by the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. The question is, do the Ravens just run the ball more than any other team? With Lamar and Derrick Henry, I expect that to be the case. In my last video where I talked about the AFC North, I just forgot that the Ravens had Derrick Henry. That just slipped my mind. I thought Rasheen Ali could actually be like a really big impact player for them. So that was embarrassing on my part. But like Devontae Walker, all he has to do is beat out Nelson Agholor and Rashad Bateman, and he's a key player for this team as a rookie. So I think that's going to happen. And when that happens, this could be his projected stat line. Listen, 650 yards, 7 touchdowns. Not that many people would have thought Devontae Walker could do that after he got drafted in the 4th round. So I think the Ravens see the vision. I gave that pick an A+. I think it was an amazing pick. Let me see this offensive line, actually. Who do they have started? I forgot they had Ronnie Stanley still. You know, that offensive line is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. You still got Stanley, you still got Linderbaum, Voorhees, yeah. So you're going to have 2 guys who have never played for you before, Voorhees and Rose Garden. Was Ben Cleveland already there? I'm not sure. Okay. Yes, yeah, I believe in this Ravens offense. So I think Devontae Walker is going to shock a lot of people there. So that's going to be it for this video. If I had to give like my top 3, probably Caleb. Honestly, Caleb's still my pick, but I think Marv and Xavier Worthy, those would be my top 2 non-quarterbacks in the running here, because I think they're both going to get the most opportunity out of anybody. And that's all that matters, right? Is, how many chances are you going to get? Also, Brian Thomas, don't sleep on him. So that's going to be it for this video, man. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I think my next video is going to be about college football. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll see you in the next one. And sorry, peace.